Bill Ford. So I've been keeping you guys in a loop of what's been going on with the strike, right? And we've been hearing everything from everybody except from the corporations. And Bill Ford is one of the people that are uh, basically one of the most important heads in Ford Motor Company in general, right? Represents the family, is a chairman. I think he's the chairman of Ford Motor Company. Also has board seats. At one point was a CEO. And I'm hearing that he is a part of sometimes the negotiation process when they need to get things through, right? But more importantly, the one thing that I already predicted way back in the summertime was that there were going to be mounting losses. And when I say mounting, I mean massive mounting losses inside of the auto industry. The stocks are plummeting, which is one of the reasons I told y'all to get out of it. Tesla stock is going up. I looked at it yesterday. It is up more than it has ever been over this past year. And everything is going absolutely positively as predicted based off of what I've been seeing happening. And even the Detroit casinos are starting to prepare allegedly to walk out this afternoon, right? But let me bring you up to speed on what's going on as far as the mounting losses that's happening across the board in the auto industry as a result of these strikes.
Ford Chairman Bill Ford Jr. tonight is asking the UAW for a quick end to the month-long strike. In his first public statement since the strike began, Ford said the strike is hurting Ford's ability to compete in the years to come. He also believes he and his company are being mischaracterized by UAW President Shawn Fain.
Yeah, our business editor Rob Maloney live tonight with more on Bill Ford's remarks, the union reaction, and a look at the strike's economic impact, which keeps growing, Rod.
Yeah, Devin, you know, the Anderson Economic Group has been tracking this since the beginning, and they have some rather grim numbers that talk about the impact of this strike on the industry and also as its ripple effect on the state of Michigan here. And Bill Ford knows these numbers all too well, and it probably played into him coming out and speaking as he did today.
It is the bargain picketers make. Take hourly losses now, walking out on strike, hoping for that big payday later. The Anderson Economic Group tonight saying that the original equipment makers lost direct wages of up to $359 million. The Detroit Three took a massive hit, $3.5 billion.
So everybody losing money. Everybody is losing money. The direct wages, meaning the amount of money that's coming out of the people's pockets, the actual workers, have equated up to about $359 million. My dog Kojak said the Detroit casino workers just walked off the job 10 minutes ago. Interesting. The direct wages as a result of striking, meaning the money that is coming out of people's pockets, the money that they would have otherwise made if they had still been on the job versus having to be out there in the cold. And it is definitely getting cold here in the D. Up there in Flint, they down there protesting now over there by the water. I see them over there in Kentucky. They rolling out the strike. I don't know how warm it is inside of Shawn Fain's office, but I'm sure he got a new T-shirt for this Friday. Specifically, about $359 million is directly coming out of the pockets of the workers. So everybody is taking a haircut. The Detroit Three, which makes up Ford, Chrysler, and GM, have lost the equivalent combined, the economic impact of about $3.45 billion with a B dollars. So everybody is going to take a haircut. You know what the worst part about this whole strike thing is? Is that yeah, that strike line is looking thin. I'm going to read that super chat shortly. The worst thing about this is that in the next few years, after whatever contract that they ratify, we're going to be back here again. They just like Congress that can't pass a budget bill. In another few years, after they ratify this contract, and let's say they do a 4 or 5 year deal or whatever like that, we're going to be right back here doing the same old line and dance, except for it's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to give you my prediction shortly.
$3.5 billion. Suppliers getting hard hit too, just under $3 billion in losses. And finally, dealers and customers, more than $1 billion in losses. In all, nearly $8 billion in industry losses as of last Thursday.
And that's an economic impact. Again, and we ain't talking about restaurants. We're not talking about people that are independent on it. We're not talking about servicers. We're not talking about janitorial companies, contractors. None of these people. This is just directly as it relates to wages from the workers, directly impacted by the strike. Money that came out of the big three as a result of what they're losing. Supplier wages and earnings is estimated to be $2.67 billion, and we only a month in. Dealers, 1.21, and the economic impact so far, just off of the big three, is $7.7 billion.
Knowing this, Ford Chairman Bill Ford Jr. said today,
"We can stop this now." And I call on my great UAW colleagues, some of whom I've known for decades. Many are close personal friends. We need to come together to bring an end to this acrimonious round of talks.
At the Michigan Assembly plant, line workers like Nicole Colvin, a 20-year line veteran, aren't terribly concerned with what Bill Ford's thinking at this point.
Everybody wants to get settled quickly, but we also want what's fair to us. We are the ones that comes in here up to 10 hours every single day, sometimes 7 days a week. We want what's fair to us.
So let me get this straight. So you come in there up to 10 hours a day, 7 days a week to work, right? And this is one of the reasons why you sign up to work there, is because when you go there, you get paid based off of your hourly wage. You also get profit sharing checks at the end of the year based off of how well that the company did. So your compensation and your bonuses is closely tied to. I mean, I've seen them getting $10,000 checks, $8,000 checks, $16,000 checks, and profit sharing just because the company profited also because they've reinstated those since they had knocked them out in 2008 or whatever, right? And then when you work over 40 hours, you get time and a half. And then when you work on Sunday, you get double time. So you're making a lot of money and they're compensating for your time because it's not like you salary. See, when you salary and you get called in and you got to stay over, or you got to work 12 hours, you don't get paid anything additional. You just got to put that work in. See, when I have things that's coming up or a deadline or, something goes down or we have to be on call or we got a release or we got something going on like that, I get whatever it is that I was going to get no matter what. Y'all get compensated for coming in for your overtime. As a matter of fact, I know people that love that overtime because that's how they pay for their Charger and Challenger. They Hellcats. I don't really understand what the problem is.
They're watching inflation eat away at their paychecks. And 3-year line veteran Mario Chandler says while he likes Bill Ford,
I mean, I guess I get where he's coming from. I say the same thing. I'm ready for it to be over, but it's also saying like, we fighting for what we gotta fight for. So if it takes as long, it takes as long.
And in the meantime, responding to the UAW rhetoric.
Jay got it the hard way, said Dodge employees got $20,000 bonus checks last year. I don't know too many companies that gave the regular workers $20,000 bonus checks. Wow.
Rick, is the order of the day. General Motors tonight just put out all of its numbers of its most recent economic proposal. Highly unusual, but we have all of those numbers for you if you want to get a look at them on clickondetroit.com.
I love to get it, Rod. Rod, keep us up in the loop. Let me see specifically what Bill Ford was saying when he was pitching
Chairman Bill Ford Jr. making a big announcement about the future of the automotive industry. Of course, this coming during the UAW.
They need to update their audio. What is wrong with these news companies? Come on. I mean, listen, I appreciate y'all for dropping the content, but y'all really, really need to update y'all audio. Y'all audio is slacking. I ain't the greatest. My audio might be a little bit better than y'all's.
UAW strike. He just started. We're going to go ahead and listen in.
Learn about this marvel of American manufacturing. It is my honor today to introduce Ford's Executive Chair, Bill Ford. There has been no greater friend to the Rouge and its employees than Bill, and we are grateful for his leadership. Please join me in welcoming Bill Ford.
Thank you, Corey. Thanks. Thank you. Well, thank you, Corey, and good morning, everybody. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Good morning,
at the
Bill.
Rouge. I wanted to meet here today because at
I feel like I'm there. I feel like I'm there. I feel like I'm in the audience, and so I'm going to participate as though I'm there.
105 years old, the Rouge tells the story of Ford, the UAW, and America itself like rings on a tree. It's the living history of how we have endured every crisis the world has thrown at us and come out stronger together. This is where we build so many of our iconic models through the years. And when called upon by our country, helped democracy prevail in 2 world wars by building boats, tank parts, and jet engines. And when an explosion here took the lives of several of our employees, we got through those hard months as a family.
Now that Rouge complex that you see in the background is the exact complex that I used to work for over in Dearborn at Local 600. I worked there. Now, I wasn't working there when an explosion happened. I got in afterwards, right? But that is the place where I actually had my job. When I tell y'all that I was in the plant, that I was on the line or whatever, I was working all of these hours and these overtime hours, I was at the Rouge complex and I was actually working. That is the location that I worked at where that explosion happened. I was actually working at that complex and I was happy to be there.
When the pandemic upended our lives, factories like this one allowed us to turn on a dime to make life-saving PPE for frontline workers. A couple of decades ago, some executives wanted to shut down the Rouge.
Julian was there with me. Shout out to my crane operators trying to show that Bentley. We depended on the crane operators. The crane operators was holding us down. We had to go and mark them steel coals and all of that. Shout out to my dog, Julian Rooks, show that Bentley.
A rusting relic of another era. And I said no. Instead, we turned it into the most environmentally advanced plant in the industry. And as Corey said, today it assembles America's favorite vehicle, the F-150, and also the F-150 Lightning. The Rouge is the crown jewel of a company that still believes that building in America matters. Automobile plants like the Rouge have created countless well-paying manufacturing jobs and a thriving middle class. And they have become the foundation of our communities and the Midwest cities that we know and love. I want to be clear on something else too. A strong manufacturing base is critical to our national security. Building things in America matters now more than ever, especially in these uncertain times. And we can't take that for granted. In my lifetime, I've watched countries lose their auto industry, and then virtually all industries after that. Countries that once had vibrant industrial bases no longer make anything. They become dependent on others for critical products, aspects of their supply chain, and even national defense.
And that's one of the problems with the United States of America is because we've become a finance and credit-based country, and that we've outsourced everything because it's no longer profitable to make it here in order to compete on a global scale. And so I don't think that people know that. They're so busy trying to count the money and the profits that go into a company, but they're not also counting the research and development and the reinvestment in order to keep competitive with these other companies and countries that are now looking to take your lunch. Because see, it's not just the Japanese automakers that's here. You got Korean automakers, you got Japanese automakers, and then more importantly, you have the European automakers that everybody want a foreign, you know what I'm saying? Y'all want a foreign chick and you want a foreign whip. And then on top of that, what people really don't see coming, and I see them on the streets all the time testing with the manufacturing plate on it, is the Chinese. The Chinese auto manufacturing and electric vehicle makers are coming to a city near you. Y'all thought that the Japanese wasn't going to be able to infiltrate. They did. You thought that the Koreans wasn't going to be able to create it with the Kia boys and the Hyundais and all of that stuff. They are. Europeans, y'all always have been a fan of it. Y'all want y'all a BMW and Audi and a Lambo and all of these companies. They do. And the Chinese are right behind them, and they're going to be selling it right in your backyard. And the thing that people don't understand is they are not brand loyal anymore. This is not the 50s. They are not going to kick your car tires if you don't. And we already got another American car company in Tesla that people take a lot of pride in.
And today, as the UAW strike against Ford continues, we are at a crossroads. Choosing the right path isn't just about Ford's future and our ability to compete. This is about the future.
I seen a VinFast the other day. He said VinFast is already in North Carolina, and I seen a VinFast the other day, and it was kind of looking sweet. And I was like, what is that? And I was like, oh, what is a VinFast? I seen that mug driving over here, right here in Detroit. I seen a VinFast the other day.
Of the American automobile industry. The UAW leaders have called us the enemy in these negotiations, but I will never consider our employees as enemies. This should not be Ford versus the UAW. It should be Ford and the UAW versus Toyota, Honda, Tesla, and all the Chinese companies that want to enter our home market.
Yep.
Toyota, Honda, Tesla, and the others are loving this strike because they know the longer it goes on, the better it is for them.
And so are the shareholders, which is me.
They will win, and all of us will lose. This is why Ford's ability to invest in the future isn't just a talking point. It's the absolute lifeblood of our company. And if we lose it, we will lose to the competition. America loses. Many jobs will be lost. So will future investments. We'll lose factories like the one we're in here today. And communities will suffer greatly. Now, I haven't spoken publicly since these negotiations began, but I believe I have a unique perspective to share. I'm the longest serving leader in our industry. I've been part of every negotiation since 1982 and have worked with every UAW leader from Doug Frazier to Ron Gettelfinger and Bob King. I've also been the most pro-union leader in our industry. On my watch, Ford is the only automaker to have added UAW jobs over the last 15 years. We employ more UAW workers than any other automaker. We assemble more vehicles here in the U.S. than anyone else, including 100% of our S-Series trucks. Many of our competitors moved jobs to Mexico as we added jobs here in the U.S.
And you will be burned for it. You will not be loved. You will not be appreciated. You will not be embraced, and you will not be celebrated. As a pro-union corporate guy that has negotiated and been a part of every negotiation since 1982, and as a guy that has witnessed companies rise and fall and has endured throughout the entirety of it, you will fall. You know why? Because you're not looking at it as a capitalist and you're looking at it as a partnership. The minute that you start looking at it as a partnership is the minute that they cut your nose off. They start to slice your legs up from under you. They start thinking that they got just as much equity in the company as you, even though you the one that got the name on the company. Your last name is the company. You will fall because you put too much trust in people that did not have your best interests at heart. Listen, most of these people that's working in the UAW today, they wasn't there in the 80s. They certainly wasn't there in the 90s, and they do not care anything about you. They don't know the heritage. They don't know the history. They don't know what you guys have went through. They don't know how many jobs that you added, and nor do they care. The only thing that they care about and the only thing that they counting is your pockets in order to figure out how much they can dig out of it. They do not care about you. They will cut your legs out from under you because they don't know the history that comes along with what it is that and whose shoulders that they standing on as a result of what it is that they protesting against. The fact that you added more jobs, but you are now the one that they are targeting the most is telling. The fact that you are the only automaker that added jobs, not took jobs away and moved them over to Mexico, is the reason why you are the one that's being targeted the most. They are targeting your most profitable product. They're targeting your most profitable truck plant. They're targeting the possibility of trying to cripple you in order to get it. They're wearing eat the rich shirts, and they absolutely, positively, if you let them, they will bankrupt you. That is a fact.
Ford is the strongest partner the UAW has ever known. These are choices we made, and it's added cost to our business in an industry that is extraordinarily competitive. But it aligns with my personal values and the values of our company and our history. We believe in building in America. Every set of negotiations has been challenging, but at the end of the day, we've always recognized that we're all for.
Somebody said adding temp jobs ain't good enough. No, Ford is actually the automaker that most quickly converts you over into a permanent employee within 90 days after you became a temp worker. So you don't know what you're talking about. You just think you know what you're talking about, but almost every single Ford employee has a pathway in order to become a $32 an hour at maximum employee that is on the line. And so it's Chrysler that uses more temp workers, actually Stellantis now, not Ford, not GM. And so now you just feel in a certain type of way. Adding temp workers, even if it was just adding temp workers, let's evaluate that right there. Let's say that it was adding temp workers. It's adding jobs that then have an opportunity to then convert over into permanent employees. Christ.
And we will succeed or fail together. We know how vital the UAW is to the success of our company, and we want our employees to do well. We didn't wait for the current contract talks to create thousands of jobs or invest billions of dollars beyond what was required by the letter of a deal. And we agree that our UAW colleagues deserve even more. And that's why we've offered a record contract which would make our UAW employees among the best paid manufacturing workers in the world. Despite this, the UAW leaders decided to escalate and strike our Kentucky truck plant last week. Shutting down that plant harms tens of thousands of Americans right away, workers, suppliers, and dealers alike. It hurts the communities that depend on these local economies. If it continues, it will have a major impact on the American economy and devastate local communities. The supply base is very fragile and will start collapsing with an expanded strike. But it doesn't have to go that way. We can stop this now. And I call on my great UAW colleagues, some of whom I've known for decades. Many are close personal friends. We need to come together to bring an end to this acrimonious round of talks. I still believe in a bright future, one that we can build together. I still believe the automobile industry is a major force for good in our country. And we will continue to be there when America needs us most. Ford has strong leaders, the best product lineup we've ever had, and a talented workforce. This is an incredible chapter in Ford's history. If we seize this moment, it will mean jobs, profit sharing, and security, and growth and prosperity for all of us. But the price of failure should be clear to everyone as well. Let me close with this. After 120 years, Ford is still a family company. Unlike the pundits and politicians who've been weighing in on this conversation, this is deeply personal to me. When the TV cameras turn off, I'll still be here. I'm only the fourth member of my family to lead this company, and I always take the long view. I'm working for a bright future, not just for my children and grandchildren, but for the hundreds of thousands of families that depend on the Ford Motor Company. Those families are counting on us. Let's come together, reach an agreement so that we can take the fight to the real competition. And let's build a great company for years to come. Thank you all very much.
So that is Executive Chairman Bill Ford's remarks saying that, listen, we need to come to an agreement. We put together a record contract. Y'all gonna try to bankrupt us. I don't know what y'all are looking to get out of this, but my mindset is we need to come together because the competition is not amongst each other. The competition is international.